You don't have to worry about finding up the
You want me to pull it out?
for you. Compression setting, like
Sets or anything that's happened since the last time I've seen you?
Just like I told you, explained you what that problem
With that
the
connector?
spreaders, yeah.
Guys, the whole assembly on your connector set, on your spreader, we just changed. So it's a brand new one. Try to keep in mind that those levers on those boxes, they go one way. If we try to force it the other way, we may disconnect one end, but we're taking that hammer and we're jamming it up behind the female. And remember, it's push forward on these, not push back. It's a brand new one. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. The other connector sets seem to be fine, so we'll call it a weird occurrence. Let's take a couple of these hoses and connect the two arms together and get a little distance and get the motor out of our way. Guys, any problems, extrication, any interesting anything?
or so they had to kind of reach in and
There's not much you can do with that either.
no, she was crunched them pretty good.
Guys, we're going to go through two scenarios. Rather than go through two complete cars, I'm going to ask you to use your imagination. We're going to work on this on a certain scenario, and then we're going to come over here and work on this. For the most part, the last time I had my hands on, I'm going to try to keep my hands off in total. Not to keep clean by any means, but just so that you guys get your hands on it. We walk through this rather quickly. Also to make it a little more rich. I'm sure you guys have your own SOP, and we're not going to go there today unless you ask.
Really should,
Here, we not only have a T-bone, the door is impacted towards the driver's seat. A couple of things before we actually get working on it. What's the most important thing if we find that we have to work here? What's the most important thing about the metal where it is now? Where's our first movement? Where's all our movement? Away from the victim. There's going to be, this is a very hard fall right here because we're very close to maybe being able to get a vertical lift to pull it out or possibly working from the inside back transmission hump with one of your rams from here to here to push all this out, including this. We're going to try the easy thing first, vertical lift. The less tools, the less time we have to get in the car, the better off we're going to be served. We're going to work on that scenario, so the door's got to be removed in total. Once the door's off, we have a victim. He's trapped somewhat on his dashboard, but it's the exact opposite of what you're used to. His feet are not under the pedals or impaled by the pedals. They're stuck above the pedals. Now, try to keep in mind, when we displace dashboards, where do those pedals go? Up. So once we get inside here, we're going to have to try to figure out a way to get some space, first of all, here. And it's going to be predominantly working in two areas, your seat, your steering column. So dashboard displacement on this car is just not going to happen. It's not a possibility as of right now. When we get over there, we're going to go work a little bit on dashboard displacement. But on this scenario, he's jammed, but he's jammed about maybe 5 or 6% of the time his feet are above the pedals. And remember, that's one of the things you have to look for first. Once the door's off, where is he and what's keeping him stuck in the car? If it's his feet and they're above, try not to go for dashboard. As a matter of fact, you'd probably be better served in some instances on pulling, because pulling moves the column and the dash, but what doesn't it move? The pedals. So we're going to go through a couple of different scenarios. I will be sticking my head in here to try to show you some things that we've come up with on side impact airbags. And I don't think I hit that on you last year or the year before. Side impact airbags, what do we know? We know a little bit. It's a lot like the front end impact. And remember, we all ran around saying that extrication was over. We couldn't work on it. And what we found out is those bags never implode during an extrication. They don't implode when they're supposed to all the time. Generally speaking, they don't implode when we're moving things back to front. Side impact airbags, what's the difference? predominantly, the models that are on the market today are not connected to your battery system. It's a pyrotechnic charge, and it's all located in your seat. So while we still disconnect our battery so that we can start the reserve capacitor going for our front end, it has no effect on our side impact. Those type systems, which are like cap devices, the sensor is located on the side front portion of the seat. If we had this accident, needless to say, the door has impacted the side. What happens is it hits the switch, a charge is sent, the charge runs parallel to the seat, to the side panel where your airbag is stored. Your airbag blows, and it's designed to blow in this location. If the bag is already blown, same procedure applies. Take it, move it out of the way. It's not going to hurt you. Don't cut it. Don't waste your time with it. Just get the deflated bag out of the way. If we get to a scene like this and the bag hasn't deployed, one of the biggest things, again, is going to be to make sure that we take this and we don't put any more force on that sensor. We need to make sure that this goes this way. So the game is not power, it's direction. How can I get my spreader or my cutter or my ram in a position to make sure that this moves outward? One of the problems with airbags and some of the testing that we've done on side impact is we've set scenarios up like this. And basically speaking, we were trying to do things wrong. We were working on the impact bar. We were trying to bend it in towards that sensor and get this thing to go off. And what we found is when we set the sensor off in that scenario, since we've already moved the metal into the path of the airbag takes the easiest way out. At times it would do this. At times it would do this. Believe it or not, this one, we didn't really have a victim, so we weren't too concerned about it. This one with the guy holding the tool here and 130 mile an hour impact, we had some problems with. So as far as the airbags go, I don't mean to scare anyone. We weren't able to set these things off easily, and we had to come in contact with the sensor. Having said that, Cadillac has come out with a model side impact that is connected to your battery. It's stored in the door. The impact is this way. We have problems with it, but Cadillac will not give us any information. It's a trade secret. They don't need to give it out, and like most things, tragedy spurs the release of information. When someone gets hurt, that's when we're going to find out how this thing is designed, but they will not tell us if it's battery operated, if it's a pyrotechnic charge, where our sensors are. We can make some guesses, but guys, guesses generally get us into some sort of trouble. And the idea that you can stand here and wait for a long time or just remove your roof and rip this guy up this way, the way they're designing cars nowadays, it's not feasible. They're usually caught by more than just the door. Let's start our power unit. Let's bring the spreader and cutter. The Halligan bar is out. In this instance, we already have a big hole. If we choose not to use anything, we can probably start. What I'm going to try to do is get a vertical lift going either here or here to try to pull this out and expose either my nadir pin or my hinge. At that point, we may decide to go in and cut something to make our life a little easier. We haven't had any report in the United States of a side impact on a Cadillac being imploded, period. And again, it's a fairly new system. Side impacts, people think that they're predominantly out there now. They're really not. 4 or 5 years from now, they're going to be in everything. But right now, Cadillac will not give us anything, and our only alternative, as Hearst put it, was to go out and buy one and rip it up. And there's no manufacturer that's going to do that. Because it still doesn't give you liability, because they will not back you up on anything you say. Guys, it was pretty warm, so put it in high idle. I had you running for about 15, 20 minutes. Hung up and no good.
You can actually work.
Speaking of the Three Stooges.
Yeah. I hope they get this on. Should have got the one on.
this out. Let's say, for instance, this did not work. I didn't get the movement that I wanted to. My only alternative if this is where I want to work is probably going to move this door, cut, and we're going to do basically the reverse of the quarter pack. Instead of ripping this out, we're going to rip this out in this location. This is the ram bar. Since we're getting the movement, let's drop this down, let's work the unity to the top of the head. I want to get somebody on the cutter. The cutter I want right over here. We're going to work on the head when we get it in. Now remember, direction's all important. Get your hips in the direction where your metal's moving outward. Back towards the back corner and a rotation like this. And the two through. Once you get to position, just be aware, don't force your line yet, but once you get to the spot, you may want to come in here and eliminate that hit. Bad gas, we're going to go through it today. Okay, stop, close up, drop down. What do we cut now, guys? We cut this, we're going to cut these now. Cover up these two. Cut to get left down as well. That thing right now is once he's done, he's going to back out, spread it back in, get above your lower hinge, and see if you can feel that door out. Above the pedals, and again, use your imagination, you can't get them out. You need one of two things. You pull, you need to be able to try to get in there. Now, keep in mind, if the guys feel like this, what are the chances you're working in this area? Just a little. You got two options, shoulder, spreader, here to here. Think, guys, one is, sometimes you got movement, a lot of times what you got is up and down. You wanted to make sure that the locking mechanism was open, but because of the angle of the big steel, we're getting a lot of this. Because of the side impact airbag, here's my sensor. We were very leery of pushing in this direction with our spreader, so when we started to play with this by 30 ram, which is your medium, from here to the back out. I still want to open up my seat mechanism. If I can attach from here to here, guys, you're going to get 6 inches every time. You're going to get slide back on your track, which means the legs are going to go from here back down to here, which gives you the space to work on. It also will open up your column for possible movement. So I want to do this. I want to keep my spreader in line because I may need it. I want to disconnect my cutter. I want to go to the medium ram, that yellow box in your truck. I want the feed plate on the moving head. I want the flat plate on the back end. Before your airbag, because it's not connected to your battery. So let's say you listen to your whole education in a half hour. Your capacity's dead. There's no speed up in it. Your front is dead. This is why.
So what I'm saying is if we had taken the door off and we got it over here and nobody's over there, so we're so concerned about it.
Well, this is my sense. You know what I'm more concerned about than moving the door? Somebody coming in, kneeling on it, somebody taking a piece of equipment, jamming it into it, or somebody that does not know about this thing coming in contact. Because what we did is we took a hammer and we went like this.
What happened with no airbag in the door?
No, because the airbag isn't here. The airbag's here, guys.
Oh, not in the door.
It's not in the door.
Okay, I'm hearing.
For BMWs, Volvos, Mercedes, any real high-class luxury car, this is the sensor you're going to see. The Cadillac, which is in the door, you're not going to see any sensor. You're not going to see anything. It's where their equipment lies. Hopefully they'll tell you next year. But right now, we can't. We can make guesses, but all that would do is make you sit here and go, I'm not going to touch the fucking camera. And we've had people ask, we want direction. You want the only way that's going to work, and you won't shut that off. You're going to cut your roof off, and you're going to yank this guy's ass up this way. Which is what we spent the last 5 years trying to do. Sorry about that. Shut up. Okay, guys, again, with the 30 Ram, you're going to use these attachments or you're not going to use them, depending on what the car gives you. The flat plate is going to give you direction, meaning I can just catch this post, keep my Ram at this angle, and catch my back L.
You want to get it off of this pin too? How do you find it right in here?
Even if you go right on here, the only thing I'm going to say is, in reality, if this is all you have to push off of, you're going to try it. Now, if the hinge is extremely weak and starts to go, you have to move your Ram to a position you're going to get fight. But let's be realistic. What is holding this? What's the lock? This.
Yeah.
If I open it up, what's my lock? How much resistance am I going to put? Not much. Now, this plate, usually it's great because all you have to do is get it to here and push, and it'll catch the back end. You see how tight I am? We may find that the V-block's more of a pain in the butt right now, so we may eliminate it and go with a single edge. But let's try it first. Slide plate up here. Get the best angle you can. Keep going. Let's see what happens, guys. Okay. Now, how much did I get?
Couple inches anyway.
Couple of inches. Where were my legs? Remember, I was here, I had no access here, I had no access here. Now I have it. What's the bad news? If his feet are caught in the pedals and in the plastic, it's a hand job. You got to get down there, you got to move some plastic, you got to try to figure out whether you need to eliminate the gas and brake pedal or not. We all understand that it's hardened steel, and if the victim's legs are wrapped around it, anytime you cut it, it's going to affect the victim. It's a judgment call. Do we want to take the car to the hospital, or do we want to take the victim to the hospital? There are times where this guy is going to be moved around, we're going to jostle him around a little bit, but the question is, does he stay here or do we remove him? And the job is to remove him so as safely as possible. I got this. Now, I take a look underneath, and I realize that it's predominantly my plastic dashboard that's jammed down around this guy's ankles. So how else can I get movement, and can I use the same tools I have in line? I kept my spreader. I've opened up this gap. Let's get the spreader in, the ram out. We're going to bring that back in this way. Okay, I'm going to take this tip. I'm going to lay it right here. I'm going to open up my jaws.
Up under the dash, you can try to go with it?
I'm going to go right underneath the column. I want you to get in this location, straight out like this.
Right above your leg?
Yep. Now hang on, stop right there. Once you get here, I want the butt end up. I want that large tooth grabbing that column. Go ahead. Stop for a second. Anyone who's watching this, we've already moved about an inch. All I'm moving is this and the plastic. Anybody see what's happening to this?
Staying, basically.
I'm getting a little bit of room here on the plastic, but my pedals have not started to move yet. So all I'm doing is opening up space. What's the problem with the tool here?
You gotta leave it there? It's gonna be in our way when you try to come out.
If I'm concerned about that at all, I'm gonna come here and work on my plastic transmission box or my gearbox. Once it hits my drive shaft, the transmission, it stops. My push is up and out this way, my tool is here, my egress is clear. Remember, one of the options, and what most people do, is this door is off, this is open. So they'll use it in this location. The minute they get this up and out, cut the ring. Not the column, the ring itself. Now I can lower this and I've gained 4 more inches. Since we gained 2 on our seat push and 2 here, normally speaking, what does that mean?
You got it.
You go home, normally speaking. In a real worst case scenario, you're either gonna have to work harder to eliminate some debris or it's cleanup. Meaning when you got there, it's trying to get this body out, not trying to get the victim out. This is a telescopic steering column, it moves. Did anyone notice any adverse effect when he pushed on it?
No, that's it. It looks like it's kicked a little bit the way, yeah.
He's real low on his column. This is where all your C-clamp movement material is. When we used to pull, we told you to pull low. When we push, we tell you to push low. Get as low as you possibly can on your column. The other thing that you might want to change is I'm kind of straight up. I'd probably rather be on an angle like this so I get the whole face of that tip underneath my column. Instead of my column like this and my tip like this, I'd like it like this so that I get a better bite. That large tooth, which is what he's working on, is what you want to get round objects in. That's your column. It doesn't mean that you'll never slip, but it's a better bite than if we used our standard tip. It has a chance of doing this, kicking back in. Any questions here? For what we ran into on a scenario, it tends to be simple today. But generally speaking, we got away with using 3 tools, and the ram bar, again, is an option. If your spreader's already hooked up, will you have a tendency to try to push your seat back first? If you start to get adverse movement, you'll stop, you'll tell the guy to get the ram ready. Now he brings it out, then you get your movement. But it's feasible that even in a real bad scenario, spreader and cutter get you out of everything. No disconnection, no reconnection, no other rams being used. If this had been a pickup truck, a sports utility, or an 18-wheeler, rather than this, I use my spreader now from here to here because of the distance. I can't fit your ram from here to here. But with those utility vehicles or those 18-wheelers, it's over a 2-foot throw between this and your ram. Your 30 ram can fit in here or it can fit in up against the gearbox and push it up and out this way. So depending upon your vehicle, you guys have different tools to accomplish basically the same thing. But your victim placement in your car, what's left of the car, how structurally feasible it is dependent upon what tool you're going to use. Let's close this up and get it out. I want to take the spreader and I want to get the cutter back in line, and I want to move over to the blue car here. We're going to come back here after this for about 5 more minutes, but for the most part, we're done with this. Let's move over to the blue one. Same thing applies, guys. We're going to get rid of that. Priority. Above him, you got somebody phone in the back seat with a spinal electric. I want to get the guy out on the back of the door. The phones are going to work on this side of the vehicle. I'm going to remove the door. I want you guys to make judgment calls on what you want to do with the roof. I'm going to suggest this. If I remove my roof again, I'm removing things that I can work with. So if the roof is going to be the first thing to go, do your vertical lift first. Get your door set up, then remove your roof. Something else to keep in mind, when I do third door activity, my direction. So again, I know car busters, and I know there are a lot of people that say, get there, remove your roof. I have realistic problems with that, because if you remove your roof and all you had to do was pop your door, you spent 15 minutes doing something you never needed to do in the first place. The other problem I have with it is unibody construction. If you don't have to compromise the vehicle more, don't. Leave the car work for you. If I eliminate what I can push off of, I have to fabricate it somehow, and that's by using my spreaders as a clamp or using L brackets. And it's just another extraneous piece of equipment that you have in here that is not tied down. Let's do this, guys. I want this door off. So come on in here, however you want to work, native pin or here. I'm going to suggest this. If the roof is going to go, vertical lift here, come back here, vertical lift here to pull this down and out, then remove your roof. Once you get that stuff accomplished, I'm going to jump back in and we're going to go through a couple of different scenarios. Go ahead. Right there for a second. A couple of things, guys. I've had questions over the last 3 or 4 months about cars that have been rolled over and the roof is compromised or crushed down somewhat. And their fear was that they couldn't do a vertical lift because when they stuck it in there, the roof went where? It went up. If it's moving up and it's moving away from your victim and it's not affecting any movement here, is it a problem? No. The other thing is you're going to get this to move up to a point. The idea is what's structurally stronger, this or this? It's going to be this 9 times out of 10. So let the roof go up to a point. If you start to tear here, stop. Go back to your Halligan bar or the other way of trying to get an option. But until that occurs, remember, this does 2 things. It moves the metal, it gets the impact bar out of my way, and it gives me a real large hole to work with, which means I don't stand here doing this and ripping metal. I want to get back to this back edge corner. The bigger hole I get, the easier my placement is. Guys, you could prop the door doing this. Keep a good hold on the tool. He's watching his native pin. That's what he should be. Once I get a big hole and I'm comfortable, I want the tool here. If something happens and goes there, it does not go in this way. Go ahead and break down and go yourself. Let's stop this for a second. Look right there. I'm getting real good movement this way. I'm exposed to my native pin, but where is my secondary victim? So when this starts to move in this direction, possible, I'm hurting him. If he's near the door and that's affecting him, you stop and you do it another way. If you can get a couple of inches where it's not affecting him, who cares? I'm going to assume today that it's affecting him because I want to be a pain in the butt. My native pin is open. I have the capability of cutting in the worst instances. And this is going to be it. I'm going to cut. Let's break it down. Let's step it back because you're going to have to come back in here and work with it. Step back. Step in. Remember your cutters, guys. The one rule that you need to accomplish is you need those 2 points to be passed when you're cutting. That'll pull it in dead center blade. This can cut hardened steel. Open up wide. Slowly you can get it. Straight all the way back in here. Okay, keep going, sir. Oops, stop it. All right, all the way back, cutter. I want you in here. I want you to cut the top flange into the top hinge. Remember, if you have the opportunity, here's your flanges, 1, 2. What's in between the pin? When I cut both, I compress it. I have a chance of having it pop out. How much more time does it take to do this? Seconds, so I get no bad movement, no adverse movement. Once he's got that top hinge out, cut her out, spread her in. Let's see what happens on the bottom hinge.
Flange, not the whole,
One flange at a time.
all right.
Guys, on scene, you can't cut one flange at a time. You need to cut the whole thing. What are you going to do? You're going to cut the whole thing.
Yeah. Go ahead, kiddo.
Okay, now we have a Simo pump. I can cut, I can spread. My next job after this is my third door operation. If the room allows, and right now I'd say it'd be more of a pain in the butt than anything else, he can start to cut the back post. He can start getting that back quarter panel ready for the third door. If he's not working on that side, and this is where I'm going to do my third door, there should be nothing holding him back. Cut, spread it up so the spreader comes off and goes to work again. Okay, spreader, while you're there, while he's cutting, you can make it like Now remember, guys, the priority is the guy in the front. We haven't gotten him out yet. We're removing the door. All he's doing is setting up because he's got time to do stuff. Now, once we get this guy out, we can get back to the quarter panel and get some real quick movement. And this is my victim. Cut low, cut high, eliminate your A-post. Drop down low, make your cut for your dashboard displacement. We're going to use your largest ram to jack this up and to jack that out. We're not going to take 10, 15 minutes to remove your roof. Go ahead. You're getting one jack, drop it down. There's only one alternative that you have. Work where you do have strength. Okay, go ahead. Okay, two cuts on the A-post. That'll come. Okay, there we go. Stop. Not working. Post up, get it out. Somebody hold on to that post, please, while he cuts it. We're gonna have to take what's given. Now, guys, something to keep in mind, and I'm gonna say this because you do watch tapes, and there are certain tapes, and I'm looking at it right now. Where do we cut when we go to displace the dashboard? Where have we cut for years? We cut the post in between the rail and the hinge. There are some training instructors, and there are some tapes going around now where they say, no, don't cut here, cut this. I'll tell you why they're telling you to cut this, because there's hardened steel behind the hinge and they can't cut it. So if you can't cut here and you want to sell your tool, where are you going to tell them to cut? Down here where there's nothing whatsoever. It's unibody construction and sheet metal. What is running through here?
Brake lines.
Gas and brake lines. So as far as anyone ever telling you to cut this, under no circumstances do you cut your rail. I want to cut low. If I can't get this, I'm going to come high. About 6 months ago, and they don't mind if I use their name, Quincy, Mass, saw a tape. They went out to their training facility. They cut the rocker panel. Now, what wasn't in the gas tanks with these cars that they had at their training facility? Gas. So they got displacement. They said, hey, that works. It's an option. They went out a week later at an actual scene, cut it. The gas started to pour out. There are models of cars with a pumping system. When there's an opening, it continues to pump. So the gas keeps coming and coming and coming. They took their spreader, they came back here, they clamped, we stopped the flow of gas, but what did it do to their spreader? It's gone. So now their spreader's here, there's a huge puddle of gas. They now have to call in to get it cleaned up. 45 minutes later, their secondary system comes, and they finally get this guy out of the car. all based on bad information. If I've cut here for years and I've never run into a problem, why would I change? Don't get into this, guys. It's baloney, it's sales, it's not training. Cut here if you can. If you can't cut here, jump up high. Try to get right down there. Which means the minute he's done with that cut, somebody's going to take the large ram, V-block on the moving head, connect it to this post. He's going to clamp. The ram's going to come in and displace your roof panel and your front end. Spread her in. Now your 60 ram, it's a long ram. If you don't feel comfortable, wait till they get it here and they set it up, then you know where to clamp. But you have room to play. So what I'm going to say is 60 ram, take it right back here. I'm going to go underneath, open up more, close. Keep closing, keep closing, keep closing, keep closing. Ahead. You want to shut off?
I know, after the other post though.
Too hard.
Green.
Green, yeah. Cut it.
Yeah.
Cut it off? Yeah, cut it off. Okay, you did. Let's disconnect that. As I said before, I'd much rather use my ram and use a car, part of the car as the kicker plate. I have a compromised bead post. If I put it up against that, what's going to happen? It's going to tear everything out and I'm not going to get viable movement. So in this instance, I'm going to use my spreader. Why? Because I have no option. When I use my spreader to clamp, I'm going to tell you one thing. Clamp, displace, retract your ram, get your victim out, then open this up. Is it possible, and it's very unlikely because of what that tubing is made out of, but it's possible that you can crack the gas line. When you release your spreader, that's when the gas comes. But again, this is my priority. I have no alternative. He's got to come out first. We'll deal with this if it happens. Is there any gas in this car? And I don't think we got gas right in front of me here anyway. Let's take this. I'm going to place the tip here. I want to move that V-block into a position where it grabs back down by your spreader. The spreader is going to have a tendency, especially in unibodies, to want to do this. If I crib underneath it, the cribbing stops it and I get a viable push. Let's keep in mind the kind of power that we're generating to displace this. Everyone thinks it's a lot. It's really not that much as long as you make your cuts. If I make relief cuts here and on the back end and possibly here, I'm not moving much at all. I've eliminated all the support. Let's go ahead and push. Large ram, he's watching here. Should somebody else watch back there?
Yeah, it did just move down.
Keep going, guys. Okay, reality, where are we? We have the hole, we have a gap to gain 4 or 5 inches. Crib the hole, we move the tool. If you want to keep a lot of room, keep going as he is. That's one of the benefits of taking the larger ram bar. Hold it. What didn't we do? We're getting adverse movement, and we're getting it right here. Let's close this up. I want you to come back up here. I want you to jack that thing up. You're going to have to come at an angle. See if you can stand straight up. If not, we're going to have to come in some sort of angle. In the roof. Anybody noticing any bad effect that I'm having here? On the back end side. The roof is up. I have a hole. Close it up, displace your dash.
Heading to the office, please.
Okay. Beyond realism, this guy's out. Remember, feet under the pedals, feet not trapped by the pedals, displace your dashboard. Anything above where you can't get the guy's feet down, seat the steering column. Let's close the ram up. I want to work back on this. Okay. Ram, once you're done, I'm going to move you out.
Ram, man.
Ram out.
Rammer.
Okay.
Ram it
I want
down.
the cutter back in. Stop the orange line, please. Stop the spreader. Yep. And we'll take that and go right to a cutter. The cuts, guys. Here, 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 and back behind your seat frame.
Dump it. Dump it, yeah.
Would this be considered an option cut? If I left that post where it is, my main concern is when I pull this all out, here's a jagged piece of steel. If you feel that you don't have the time to eliminate all hazards, one cut. Pull it back, get your victim out. Try to be aware of where this thing is, or put a blanket or something on top of the jagged edge. When you're cutting that bottom portion, guys, one cut will do it 9 times out of 10, but people tend to want to make 2 cuts so that it makes the metal move easier. The more cuts you make, the weaker it's going to be to push. Won't get much, but you'll get that final corner. Open up the 2 back cuts. Behind your seat, if possible. Anywhere where your seat ends, you have the opportunity, so here and here. Don't connect the 2 cuts. I want 2 little bites, 2 focal points, 2 hinges. Yeah. No, hold up right now. We're going to leave that right where it is. Okay, guys, I want to use this. I want to move this metal out. Where's my support that I'm going to push off? It's possible to work there. Any time where you're forced to come inside, you're going to work predominantly off the transmission hump, and you're going to work with your ram bars. I'm going to assume at this point, before I say I got to go in there, because remember, here's my victim, and I said he was prone with a spinal and a back injury. How can I possibly get inside there and work with any comfort? We don't have any support here we've displaced. We don't have any support on the roof because we've eliminated it all.
One seat, this guy's already gone, possible?
That's a possibility also, and that would give you an angle this way, but I'm going to go for the quickest possible way, which is, again, using my spreader as a clamp here, setting my ram from here to the outside, and I'm really going to have to muscle my ram somewhat to get this to move in the direction that I want it to. The reason I asked him to make a couple extra cuts here is, knowing my angle, I got problems. Let's do this. I want to take the spreader, and I want to take the ram, and I want to have it in line. The ram's already in. Yeah. Let's disconnect our cutter, please. Let's dump our orange line again, and let's go back to our spreader assembly. Things have changed. We weren't getting much movement on this before, but now I got my cuts in here. Let's see if this is supposed to give me any kind of movement. No. All I'm getting is roof movement. Let's take this. Let's drop it down right here, underneath, clamp it down. Let's get somebody on the ram bar. The large ram's going to come back into play. I want that flat plate. So get the flat plate out of the kit, guys. So we're off the smaller ram right here. I'm sorry. It's on the hood. Okay, let's bring it in. Now, guys, 2 things. I like to use my moving head, the piston part, where I'm going to move metal. So I want the piston down here. The V-block is probably not going to be the best piece to solve our problem because I want a wider surface area so I can change my angle. So what I'm going to suggest is to go take this out. I'm going to put the plate on my moving head to begin with. And see what happens. Foot down here. Alright, see this little tiny piece of shitty steel? That's where I'm gonna start. I want you to turn it and then open it. Somebody help him support that down there?
I can get this further back.
Let's leave it right there and see what happens. Go ahead, open. Okay, stop for a second. Now, I have some support. It's important to get this moving this way. I can't use my spreader. I could possibly use my ram, but I want to see if I can do this. Go ahead and open. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, stop. I'm on a very little bit here. That's why these heads are here. It gives you very little bite, but it gives you the proper movement. Once you've set your movement up, take this, move it back to the inside. Now let's really kill this thing, drag it all out in one push. Go a little bit further. Okay. Once you start to get to a point, you're going to pop out. Hold your ram bar. I'd rather see you stop and move to the inside before that occurs. Now remember, I still want this hanging. So see this native pin? Still on there. All the way to the inside now. Remember, I still want to try to get somewhat of an angle. I think you got it right there. Go ahead.
No.
Let's see what happens. I think he's going to go. He's not getting any adverse movement. It's only going to want to come this way now.
There it goes.
Movement at this type of car, we don't have the ability to go back to our route. It's gone. Our only option now to get a little bit more space is to get the ram out. Hold it all the way out to the front. Let's release the spreader. And spreader, I want you right back here. Go ahead, release it. I'm going to drop it straight down into this hole. So I'm going to come in like this. Hang on a sec. Right in here. Let's close up a little. Close. No, I don't really care. The guy in the front seat is gone. The only thing I want to stay away from is the victim placement here. Go ahead, no.
We always take the roof off now and also
I would say this, if you wanted to be a real pain in the ass training instructor, you'd say yeah, the roof goes. The reality is if I can accomplish this, my victim comes out, who cares? Okay. Guys, as far as the space that we have here, and again, remember, spinal and neck injuries, for years and years, we removed roofs and we did this. We ran into problems, liability, and everything else, and there was some request to do something with the backer board. This allows you access in, it gives you a big hole, and allows you to pull the guy out without moving him that much. But remember, he's still got to be moved. Any questions on this?
No.
Guys, is there anything else that you want to explore today? All right, let's clean everything up. I thank you for your time and your patience.
Thank you, Tom.
Gauge your steering column, 96 inches.
Don't need more than this.
I mean, most people don't pull more than 16, never mind once, twice, and then a third time. And again, the way that we do things sometimes in training is they had some nice pictures of the column coming out, fire engineer. What they didn't explain is that they did pull 96 inches. One thing to keep in mind, before you push, pull, anything to do with the steering column, the first thing you do is get your hand on it. If it's moving all over the place, guys, you're better off displacing your dash and having it come up without putting any weight on it. But if it feels solid, push it, pull it, do whatever you want with it, just don't cut it. Put the spreader here. So here like that.
That gives way. Hit the spreaders here.
I would say this, it's been about 12 years now working on these things. Never ever had a bracket that was intact when I got there. Go by pushing up in this area. As a matter of fact, common sense, as low as you can possibly go. And guys, remember, I ripped all the plastic out, which is exposing this. This is something you're not going to slide. It's move it down, and put it in a position where it's not going to move.
Today is April the 30th.
Hi, I'm Terry Marciello, the new director at the Senior Center, Wilmington Senior Center. Today, my goal for being here is to share a little bit about the center and the opportunities that you have at the Senior Center. Our center is open Monday through Friday from 9 to 4:30, and we have a variety of activities. Our activities go from Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. At 10 o'clock, we have an exercise group, and then we have an art group on Monday afternoons from 1 to 3. That art group consists of an instructor who spends one-on-one time with you, as in doing either paintings or chalk drawings or pencil drawings. We have our whist group on Monday afternoons at 1 o'clock, and also a card group that's starting on Thursday afternoons and Friday afternoons at 1 o'clock, which does include poker. We have a sing-along group that will beginning every month, once a month at 1 o'clock. We have a potluck lunch, and after the lunch, we have our sing-along. The next one, I believe, is on March 18th, but it's usually the third Wednesday of every month. But keep an eye in the paper that's on the Town Crier and the Wilmington Advertiser to make sure as to the time and dates. We do have a crafts group that meets on Wednesday mornings from 9 to 12. We have a wood shop group that meets on Thursday mornings from 9 to 1. And in that, or 9 to 12, I should say, and in that group, we do any type of woodcraft you can think of. Joe Flipowitz is the instructor, and just about anything that you can possibly think of, he'll do with you. We have line dancing on Thursday afternoons from 1 to 2:30. And that just gives you an idea. And we also have a nutrition class, which is on the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. We have a Shine counselor, and that person is actually a person that comes and can discuss Medicare, Medicaid, HMO, different health insurance issues that you may have, questions that you may have. You can come and see her, and she is there again on the second Wednesday of every month at 9 o'clock. And I can't forget, of course, our bingo that's on Friday afternoons at 1 o'clock. And it's 25 cents a card, and come down and enjoy the fun. There's also refreshments usually at that time. We have a town nurse, Ann Fitzgerald, who comes to the center on Thursdays at 1:30 to provide blood pressure clinics, diabetes screenings, and also does cholesterol screenings at 10 o'clock every fourth Tuesday of the month. We're also lucky for our center to have a podiatrist that comes by every third Wednesday, and we have a hearing specialist who comes in to check the hearing aids, make sure they're working okay, and also to check the batteries and make sure they're okay. We also, a very important part of the center too is our home delivered meals in the meal site, that congregate site that's down at the high school. The home delivered meals, you can be a part of that program, but you need a prescription by your doctor, a letter by your doctor saying that you can be a part of this. Once we receive that, then you can, the following day you will be receiving meals. Then those meals consist of a hot meal with bread, fruit, the hot entree, and milk. And that's a $1 donation. Also down at the high school, I believe at 11:45, there is a hot meal that can be provided also Monday through Friday, and a donation of $1. But please call the center to let us know when and what you're interested in, and so we can make sure we have the right numbers. I think that's pretty much about a bit what goes on at our center. We do have right now for this until April 2nd, a tax counseling that can assist you. But at this point, these are our main functions that are going on at the center. Feel free to drop by at any time, even if you just want to come by to see what's going on, and just to get, and to be, if you'd like to be a new member, come by for a cup of coffee. We have donuts that are donated from Dunkin' Donuts, and we'd love to have you come. If you have any questions, you can either ask me personally or you can pick up the phone and just call. I'm more than willing to help out in any way that I can. And we have truly an open door policy. So please do come by. I hope you found this friendly enough, and I hope to meet you personally at the center.